Hello everyone, it's Scott, and welcome to today's look at March the Machine spoilers. So it's Sunday, we only have a few cards to talk about today on day 5 of spoilers, but we've got some interesting cards that I think will have some standard relevance. So let's get started, but before we do, special thanks to Caffeinated Gamers for sponsoring our video, and remember to like and subscribe to get further content like this. So our first card of the day is Invasion of Belan. For 2 and a white, you get a battle that's a siege that has 5 defense counters, and when Invasion of Belan enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 white and blue knight creature token with vigilance. Not great on the front side. Getting a 2/2 token for 3 mana, that's a little bit under value there. And on the back side, when you do defeat the battle, you get Belan War Anthem. Okay, creatures you control get +1/+1, which is a nice ability, but we already have a card in Standard that's 3 mana that does exactly the same thing that doesn't see play. So I think this is, a nice limited card, but beyond that, we probably won't see very much of it. Next, we have Phyrexian Awakening. For 2 and a white mana, you get an enchantment. When Phyrexian Awakening enters the battlefield, incubate 4. And Phyrexians you control have vigilance. So I think if there is a dedicated Phyrexian deck, this is a card that will probably go into that deck because it gives vigilance to all Phyrexians. And I think that ability on top of incubating 4 makes this a card that's worth playing in Standard in a Phyrexian deck. And I think we've seen enough stuff from March of the Machines going back to All Will Be One and even before that, so that I think we're going to have a Phyrexian deck built for this coming season, and this I think is a good part of that. Next we have Zephyr Singer. For 2 and 2 blue, you get a Siren Pirate. That's a 3/4 that has Convoke. It has Flying and Vigilance, and when Zephyr Singer enters the battlefield, put a flying counter on each creature that convoked it. This is going to see a lot of Standard play. The fact that you get to play this and anything that convokes it into play gets a flying counter, that is a great value piece. And if you use it and convoke 4 different creatures to get Zephyr Singer into play, now you've gone from 4 creatures that were on the ground to 4 creatures and 4 additional creatures in the air, and that in of itself makes this a very good Standard card. So I think this is going to have application in a lot of different decks. Certainly any decks that have already a good creature focus are going to want to put this in it to give their creatures flying in addition to their other abilities. Next, we have Bloated Processor. For 2 and a black mana, you get a Phyrexian. That's a 3/2. And then you can sacrifice another Phyrexian and put a +1/+1 counter on Bloated Processor. So I've already talked about the fact that we're probably going to have some kind of Phyrexian deck. And a lot of those Phyrexians are low-to-the-ground creatures, whether they are toxic or something else. So I think there's going to be a lot of sacrifice outlets for Phyrexians, whether they're dying in battle because you're attacking with a bunch of 1/1 bites creature tokens, or just because they're going to die in battle. This is a great ability, and it just says sacrifice. So you can actually tag with Bloated Processor and then sack another creature or a number of creatures that are Phyrexian to give it +1/+1 counters to make sure it survives in battle. And then when it does die, you get to incubate X, where X is its power. So 3 mana on the front, 3 mana in cost for this. You can sacrifice things to give it +1/+1 counters, and then on the back side of it, when it does die, then you get the incubator token that'll bring back another creature that has at least as much power as Bloated Processor does, and you do that for only 2 mana. So I think this is definitely a card that goes in that Phyrexian deck, and it may have application in other decks that have a bunch of Phyrexians. And our last card of the day is Gleaming Dawn. For 2 and 2 green mana, you get to incubate X twice, where X is the number of lands you control. So another one of those land-based cards that you play this on turn 4, you get 2 4/4s that have incubate, 2 4/4 incubator tokens, and that's a pretty good rate for that. I mean, you are going to have to put in 4 mana to get that, but if you play this in the late game, you might have 6 or 7 lands in play, and getting 2 7/7s for 2 mana apiece is a really good bargain. So I think this has potential in Standard. It's not a 4 of, but maybe you're 1 or 2 in the right deck, and you would see this, especially in a token deck, because when you crack the incubator, if you've got something that doubles tokens, then you'd get 2 of those, and I think that's more than worth the value. All right, well, that's it for today. Like I said, a few good cards that we did see. I really like our pirate card for the day, and I think that card has got a lot of standard playability. The fact that it's putting counters on everything, that gives everything flying, is just a bonkers ability, and I think we'll see that all over the place. All right, that's it for today. I'll see you next time.